What's up, Degenerate Nation? Welcome to the Big Bets on Campus podcast, presented by DraftKings. This is the Week 5 college football betting preview. I'm Stuckey, and joining me, as always, my fellow BBOC co-host, Collin Wilson. Oh, baby, what a slate we have. Peak college football, conference play is here. Ohio State at Washington, Oregon at Penn State, Alabama at Georgia, LSU at Ole Miss, Auburn at A&M. I can keep going on and on and on. We'll get to all those marquee games. We'll hit about, 10 to 12 others in the rundown. We'll talk some trash. I think maybe 6 more games. Collin will obviously talk Arkansas, Notre Dame, which I didn't even mention. And then obviously, as always, we'll go 3 and out, talk the Friday night games, hit our favorite underdogs. And in total, we'll get to 25, 30 games in a little over an hour. No time to waste. Let's get right into it. But before we do, if you do use Twitter, make sure you check out @Playbook, the new betting bot from Action. Turn your screenshot into a bet slip. All you have to do is follow @Playbook on Twitter for more info. You could even just say, hey, @Playbook, create this slip for me. Or if you have a screenshot, or if someone posts a bet, you can just @Playbook, create the slip for you. No more manual work. Click the link. It'll take you right to your book, whatever book you want, and then you can just bet it. We'll also have a quick slip link in the video and podcast description where you can find and tail some of the bets we discussed in today's episode, or you can visit actionnetwork.com/betnow. And also another podcast that I'm doing on Thursdays. I'm the new co-host of the Favorites podcast, which is returned with the new lineup episodes Tuesday, Thursday, Sunday with Kendra Middleton, Brandon Kravitz, and myself. Bets, stories, all sorts of fun stuff. It's all centered around the NFL, but it's more of a fun, casual episode. So check it out wherever you listen to podcasts. All right, let's get right into it. Let's start out on the West Coast with the Washington Huskies.
But hold on, before we start this podcast, do you feel like a little bit of energy, like this is going to be some crazy shit weekend?
I'm telling you that right now that there is no elite great team in college football. One could emerge, but there's none. What's that mean? It's peak parity this season. There's going to be lots of upsets. There's going to be chaos throughout the season, and I think it starts this weekend. There's really no bad teams except Clemson. So, all right, let's get into Ohio State at Washington. This line has come way down. We were pays to pay. Listen to the Sunday show. Said we liked some ECU early. That line's taken off. We said we liked Washington at 10 or better. This line's come down to 7.5, 8.5. Total has jumped up 51.5 to 52.5. All right, I have lots to say on this game. So the first thing is I do like Washington, but let's start when Washington has the ball. They have a top 5 back in the country in Jonah Coleman. They have a top 5 receiver in the country in Denzel Boston. They have, I would think, maybe a top 10 quarterback by the end of the season, at least, in Damon Williams, dual threat, electric. Their offense has been on fire. The interior offensive line is still a question, but it's better. Their entire offensive line is better than last year. Bringing a Kansas State transfer, start at left tackle. He's been great. Their offense should be able to move the ball here on Ohio State. And look, especially early on with Jed Fish, amazing in the scripted portion. That's huge for this crowd. This is a team that's won 22 straight at home. Should be an electric crowd. This is Julian Saint's first true road game as well. We've seen a lot of freshmen struggle in that spot so far this season. But I do think Washington will have success moving the ball. I'm curious to see what they do with Caleb Downs. Does he spy Williams? How do they use him? That should be super interesting. But I think Washington's offense can have success. Look, I had questions. This is an Ohio State team that lost 14 players to the NFL. Their defense is still really good. We had questions about Matt Patricia. We said, wow, you passed the test against Texas. But did you see Texas after that? I mean, March Manning threw for 130 yards, went 11 of 25 against UTEP. So I'm pausing my brakes on the UTEP defense. I have questions on the outside at corner and the defensive line a bit. I think the key for Washington is Williams' legs, and then Coleman not only running the ball, which is how I think you have to attack this Ohio State defense to start things off, but also him out of the backfield. He's their second leading receiver. So I think that they're going to have enough success moving the ball. The question then becomes, can Ohio State, is Washington going to be able to get enough stops? Because obviously Ohio State's a more talented team. Sain's been great the last 2 weeks, but it was Grambling and Ohio, and he did throw 3 interceptions across those 2 games. He wasn't great against Texas, but it's his first career start against, and he didn't have to do much. They didn't ask him to do much against an elite defense. The Ohio State offensive line has taken a step back. The backfield especially has taken a step back. There's not as much juice with Donaldson and Peoples, who also really struggle in pass protection, which is noteworthy against the Washington team that does lead the country in pressure without blitzing. But you got to take into account the competition. Hasn't been the greatest, Colorado State, Washington State, FCS team. The key for me here is in Ryan Walters' defense. So I don't think I do worry about the run D, but this isn't like the potent Ohio State rushing attack of last year. And Sain is not mobile. So you don't have to worry about the mobile quarterback. And the backs and offensive line just aren't at the same caliber as they were last year. Now, what Ohio State does have, arguably the best wide receiver duo in the country, led by Jeremiah Smith, Carnell Tate. They are electric. And they're going to go up against the most man-heavy defense in the country with Washington, who plays man, I don't know, around 58, 60% of the time. It's cover one. It's Ryan Walters, the new defense coordinator, came from Illinois, then head coach at Purdue. A lot of cover one. At full strength, Washington has the corners to play that. That is what's required in a Ryan Walters defense. You need elite corners. They have Brysock and they have Takario Davis, who's arguably a first-round draft pick. That's the key to the game. Does Davis play? So I don't know. He nursed ribs last week, didn't play. The problem is when he didn't play, they were playing Washington State. His backup gave up 150 yards and 2 touchdowns, got benched for a true freshman. It was bad. The true freshman played out. The Robinson played outstanding, but it was Washington State. Is he ready to go on an island and play against Tate and Smith? I doubt it. So they're probably going to have to roll help that side, and Price's going to be on an island. Changes the whole structure of the defense. Davis's status is paramount here. They also lost one of their best linebackers, the Washington State transfer, Jacob Mano. Is he going to play? He was an all-conference linebacker at Arizona. By the way, Pricelock and Davis also came from Arizona, where Fish was. He hasn't played yet. He tore his ACL last October, warmed up recently. He could go. That's important. One of their other best pass rushers, Parker, hasn't made his debut yet. We'll see if he can go. So there's injuries on this Washington defense, and they're not a team like Ohio State with lots of depth, and that matters. The Davis injury matters a ton. If he doesn't go, I think this line will probably tick back up. I would like the over more, but I like Washington. I think they're going to put a scare into Ohio State. The only other thing I'll mention that does worry me is the special teams. Washington special teams, which were a disaster last year, aren't great again this year, and that could end up costing. We're gonna have to see Grady Gross again?
Grady Gross.
I
interviewed him when he was a freshman kicker for the national title.
He has hit a 50. He's hit a 51-yarder this year. He's 2 of 2, but I don't trust him. So, but I like Washington here. It's a little harder to get to at 8.5 without knowing Davis' status. It's massive. What are your thoughts here? Curious to hear what you have to say.
I like my thick kickers. Look, I think you kind of throw Grambling and Ohio out the door. Ohio State 107-9 combined.
Ohio's defense is awful too. Gardner Webb was torching them last week.
Yeah. Oh, by the way, you know what I love about our podcast is you mentioned cover one is going to be thrown here by Washington. I've already done the analytics on what Sain's done against cover one. I think you have to go back to the Texas box score and really kind of remember the fact that Texas won that box score, especially on the ground. Half of Texas's possessions had 2 or more first downs, and the Longhorns were stuffed on just 16% of rushing attempts. To clarify that, 30% is the national average. So Ohio State only stuffed half of what the national average is against Texas's run offense. Ohio State, considering they played Grambling in Ohio, they're 89th in defensive line yards. I think Washington can absolutely win the trench here. I think Demon.
By the way, I'd take Boston over any Texas receiver. I'd take Williams over Manning, and I'd take Coleman over any Texas running back right now.
What Washington is going to do is they're going to go straight zone read concepts. That's all they run, and they are highly successful. 73% success rate with inside zone. They average an explosive play on 1 of 3 attempts. I get it what their strength of schedule is, but still 1 of 3 attempts is an explosive. What Jonah Coleman is doing right now from a yards after first contact and forcing missed tackles is pretty insane. I think the second level tackling for Ohio State, there's starting to be some numbers that I'm noticing out of the Patricia defense that are catching my eye. And I'm sure this is voicemail worthy, and I'll hear from everybody on Sunday. But right now, Ohio State is graded 59th in tackling by PFF. Second level tackling for the Buckeyes here is paramount because that's where Jonah Coleman and Williams are going to be, is in the second level. Now, I say fundamentals and coaching means everything. And I know we got a lot of hate on me from the Patricia call against the Texas game. Caleb's down missed tackle rate last year was 10%. Right now it's 21%. Second level tackling by the Buckeyes is key here. Why? Because Washington's going to be able to put up a score for every time Ohio State does if they don't tackle at the second level. Julian Sayin, you mentioned a lot of cover one is coming out of Washington. Julian Sayin right now, about 12.5 attempts against cover one, a very poor 44% success rate against cover one. He hasn't seen much man. That will be a change for him. And if there's going to be man coverage and they're going to jump routes, Sayin's going to have to be on the ball and zipping that. So there's no explosive out of this offense. Outside of Jeremiah Smith being 4.4 yards per route run, I mean, this team is 122nd in pass EPA, 93rd in rush EPA. Is way different than what we had last year with Junkins and Henderson. It's not the same offense whatsoever. And I think another thing that pointed out to me in the box scores that I would be worried about if I was a Buckeyes fan and putting money on them, Ohio produced 8 pressures and a sack on Julian Sayin last week. That's bad. So I'm not saying
Ohio State O-line, their backs can't pass protect too. Keep that in mind. We already have Washington on the agree board from the Sunday show. We're going to fill up this board today, I think, with agree. I think also with some head-to-heads, and we'll get to some trash. By the way, if you can take 1 minute, leave a 5-star review. That'll really help us out this time of the year. I'll read 1 or 2 reviews right now, and if you want to reach out to me, I'll send you some gear. Let's see. All hail Stuckey. Oh, wait, no, never mind. I just want to read that is one of them. Here's a good one by Crazy Seabass. Fall is pumpkin patches, bonfires, tailgates, and BBOC. It's how I start every weekend. Keep it up. This is the first weekend it feels like fall. The air, these games. Oh, baby. But this is the one I really wanted to read. This is the reason why I'm doing this. Best college football pod out there. An hour every week of straight data to help you understand and bet the sport better. It's even better once you realize Collin is always wrong on Ohio State. That scares me. Yeah. But I'm on Huskies. Purple Rain, Jed Fish. We're going to trust this Washington offense. But the Davis, if he doesn't play, and I think that they probably have to go with the true freshman after what happened last week, it could ruin the game. And Smith and Tate are that talented that they could just run away with this. It's definitely a possibility. But we're rolling with the Huskies. All right, let's stay in the Big Ten. And there's also a chance that Sayin has just an atrocious game. Like first true road stop, hostile environment that he just kind of folds under pressure early. Washington builds a lead. The script is huge. If Washington can score early, get a couple scores on the board, keeps the crowd engaged, keeps the pressure on Sayin, that offensive line. So in Jed Fish, I trust. He's treated me well in the past. All right, let's stay in the Big Ten. Oregon at Penn State. It's a big one. Whiteout. By the way, Penn State covered 9 in a row, 9 whiteouts in a row over the past 8 seasons. Going back to 2016. They've only lost one of those games. I think they lost by 1 to Ohio State. Penn State is out to a 3.5-point favorite, total 52.5. I love Penn State here. Said this on Sunday. Would obviously really for like a 3. There was a 3 out there early in the week that I grabbed. You might be able to get it again. I think that it seems like the whole world is betting Oregon. But even at 3.5, that's the side I would bet. Look, I know Oregon has looked great. Dante Moore's looked great. They beat nobody. Like both these teams haven't played anybody, but Oregon had a reason to play and try, and like they had a brand new team. They needed to see what Moore had. They had all these new pieces, and so yeah, they look great. But they beat the brakes off Oklahoma State. Oklahoma State got blown out at home by Tulsa, and then had to fire their coach. Oregon State is atrocious, and then the other Northwestern is bad. Like didn't cover. I can't take much from those games. Penn State hasn't looked great, hasn't covered yet. They've played 3 cupcakes. People that I'm close to, and this is just my own eyes, they haven't showed anything. They have been preparing for this game since spring. They basically have a 2-game season, this Ohio State. They haven't showed anything. They haven't showed any new wrinkles. I truly believe they upgraded at the wide receiver position. And this is where they have the big advantage. Like I'm trusting more of my priors. I'm basically saying, okay, yeah, Oregon looks great, but I've seen Dante Moore go 15 of 40 at Utah. I've seen him throw pick six under pressure time and time again. Is it all fixed? I don't know. He's the talent advantage that they've had in the first 3 games, and he's not under any pressure. He's not in any hostile environments. This is totally different against an elite defense. So I'm sticking more to my priors here and not really updating where these teams are. And before the season, I would have Penn State between a 7 and 10 point favorite. So 3 all day. When you also throw in the intangibles, Penn State off a bye. And like I said, they've basically been preparing this game for 5 months with arguably the best coordinator duo in the sport. That's worth something. Meanwhile, while Penn State was playing an FCS team, Oregon was traveling across the country to play Northwestern in the conference game, went back to the West Coast to play a rivalry game in the Civil War, and now they're flying back out east. So those intangibles, the whiteout, that all favors Penn State. So, yeah, and then you have to also remember that two of Oregon's best weapons are true freshmen. Like, they haven't been in this environment. They haven't played this. Like, there's no telling that there's no given that they're going to just step up and not fold, and they're not ready. Maybe they're not ready for this moment yet. So I don't trust Moore yet. If he proves it to me, great. 2 things that worry me. Can Penn State just turn it on? Like that's been a concern in the past. Mm-hmm. Can they just flip that switch? And Franklin has turtled in these games, just like decision-making. And Lanning will be aggressive. And that could work in his favor. You see that with Dan Campbell in some games. But I think this is too much of an overreaction to what people have seen against garbage competition. I need to see Moore perform against this level of defense in this environment before I buy into this Oregon team. Everyone was low on this Oregon team. Everyone was selling Oregon, including me. And now all of a sudden, everyone's like, Oregon's number one because they beat Oklahoma State and Oregon State by a lot. Please. Penn State.
Well, you and I mentioned this, and for everybody's knowledge, like I took Penn State on the money line in a game of the year before the season started.
Are we putting Penn State on the board?
Yeah, we're putting Penn State on the board, even at 3.5. I don't want to fall into the trap of Penn State shown nothing, because last year Penn State got to 7-0, and we said Kotelnicki's holding back for Ohio State. Would they score one offensive touchdown in that game? I mean, it was pretty gross. I don't know what the game plan. I don't know how much Franklin has in this, but you're right. I mean, turtling up against this beyond riverboat gambler that Dan Lanning is definitely an advantage in Oregon's favor here. But I would like to see more of Kotelnicki's offense that we saw towards the end of the year come into play here. So we'll see if Franklin, allows his coordinators to do what they do. But there are some major, major advantages for Penn State.
Run game. That's where it all starts.
I mentioned this before, that I've been watching Oregon, and they have been sliced in the middle. I
was watching Northwestern run on them.
Yeah, I mean, it's like I watched Kayvon Thibodeau the other night in the NFL, and all I could think about was he was on defenses for Oregon that were sliced in the middle while he was on the edge. It's like it's a serious problem at the defensive interior. So Penn State, you have to look at what Nick Singleton and Katron Allen have done so far. Allen is the one that's been just absolutely gobbling up everything. 5.5 yards after first contact, 14 missed tackles on only 34 attempts. This is insane numbers. And Drew Aller kind of had an off day against Villanova, 2 turnover-worthy plays, but I don't think they need him to beat Oregon here whatsoever. I'm wondering if his focus was on Oregon, but listen, I think Drew Aller still has problems with, throwing out of the pocket, taking sacks, but that's not going to be
tackles. The tackles for Penn State are a worry. Like, is there going to be too much pressure? But I do think Penn State's going to be able to run the ball, and that'll set up everything else.
Well, everybody's real focused on like Kyron Hudson and Trevor Pena. They just haven't been as explosive as people thought. I just don't think that's what's going on here. The biggest handicap is the fact that Penn State with Kotelnicki runs a ton of outside zone with Allen and Singleton. If you look at Oregon, 42% success rate against outside zone, a schedule of Oregon State, Northwestern, Oklahoma State, and Montana State. That is what they have done. I think this is an extremely bad matchup from a run perspective. On the other side of the ball, Jim Knowles, who, what is this, his 3rd time to see Oregon, I think, in the he's seen Oregon a lot in the last 12 months. I think what you have to do, I think you and I talked about this offline. How do I know, with all of these highlights of DeCorian Moore and Dante Moore and all of these great players on Oregon, how do I know that Penn State's going to be able to stack up? Can they tackle in space? It's just one of the biggest handicaps. Like, if you take on one of these elite, elusive targets with all these weapons with Oregon, can you tackle in space? Per PFF, King Mack, a top 20 individual tackler of all PFF safeties that plays for Penn State. That is key against DeCorian Moore in space. He's just going to gobble him up and not let him get away. Corner play is crucial for Penn State. Darius Dixon and Jameer Joseph are 2 of the highest graded defenders in FBS at the corner position. I'm sticking with it. I think the run concepts that Andy Kotelnicki have are going to go right in the face of what the weakest part of the Oregon defense is. They take over the game at the line of scrimmage, and that's exactly what this comes down to.
Yeah, I agree. I think more pick six coming.
Oh
Calling
boy,
my shot.
so glad I'm not on the Oregon side.
Yeah, wait to see if you can get a 3 though. I think it might pop. So Penn State 3 pending. Look for the 3, but we'll put it on the agree board regardless. Let's move on. Let's go to the SEC. Got some great games in the SEC this week. Let's talk Alabama, Georgia. Georgia is let's call it. We'll call it consensus 3.
Yeah.
Across the board. Total's been moving a bit, 52.5 to 53.5.
It should.
By the way, I should mention that Ohio State favored by 8.5 right now. Only the second time in the last 25 years a number 1 team in the country is favored by less than 10 against an unranked opponent. The only other time it happened was Notre Dame at USC in 2012. Speaking of streaks, Georgia hasn't lost a home game in regulation since 2016. They lost an overtime game, their last loss in 2019. Georgia hasn't beat Alabama at home since 2003, but they haven't played in Athens since Kirby has arrived. I think the last meeting might have been in 2015. This is a big one. Alabama doesn't want to suffer a loss here. It would really hurt their college football playoff chances since they already have a loss in pocket with obviously a tough slate ahead with an SEC schedule. Georgia 3-0 after escaping in Knoxville. I think you're going to try to sell me on Alabama and the over. I'll tell you one thing, I'm not getting there. I'll tell you, I'm probably not betting Georgia pregame unless I get a 2.5 flat. I have Georgia power rated slightly ahead of Alabama. I have home field in this spot worth like 3.8 points. It's massive, but Alabama's coming off of a bye. I'm assuming that DeBoer, Grubb are going to have some nice wrinkles here, and they might jump out. They might get a score early, get a couple scores early, but Kirby Smart is...
They had 28 scores last year early.
Yeah, he's the best in-game adjuster in the sport. So I will be looking for Georgia live. I also like the under. I'm trying to see where this goes. It's very contrarian because both of these defenses, they don't have the same amount of juice up front. Their secondaries have been exposed at times, but these aren't the exact type of offense that give the opposing defenses issues. Stockton can run a little bit, but they're not where Alabama really struggles on defense is like mobile quarterbacks, and they're gonna. I'm sure Kirby's gonna implement some of the stuff that gives Alabama issues, and neither of these teams can run the ball. So I know that it'll probably be a pass heavy game, but I just think that the defenses are going to show up here. And listen, Ty Simpson, you're going to sell me on him. He's looked great the past 2 weeks. He played UL Monroe and he played Wisconsin, who just got destroyed at home by Maryland. So, let's not go. This is still the same guy that looked like he was throwing a frozen turkey in Tallahassee. So, prove it to me. Like Dante Moore, prove it to me. He's still a young kid in a hostile environment. So I'll be looking for Georgia live. I'm going to go if you want to go head to head on the total, I'm happy to do it.
Yeah, you and I are going head to head on the total. This game's going over. So full transparency, I do like Alabama in this game. I don't have a single penny on it. I have a dime on the over. So we can go at 53. It's interesting. I want to back you up on what you said about looking for Georgia live. We got into a little betting habit at the end of last year. I don't know if you remember this, but Alabama won every single first quarter. They just annihilated people in the first quarter. There's only one team that has beaten Kalen DeBoer in the first quarter. If you wipe out that bowl against Michigan, which I don't think meant anything, but if you wipe out the bowl against Michigan, there's only one team in the regular season that's beaten Kalen DeBoer. Vandy, Diego, right? They just didn't have a plan for that. But besides that, I think looking for Georgia live, if you like them, I would wait too. As far as this game goes, I think Alabama is bolstered by the fact Jam Miller. I think it changes that offense a little bit.
Yeah, that's key. Can he run it? I mean, because you're talking 33, 34% success rate running against Florida State and against Wisconsin.
Right.
Their tackles also haven't been as good. Like Proctor's not having a great year.
Well,
Which is
the running backs have been bad too because their yards after first contact. I mean, they're not doing anything. They're not elusive. They're not juking. They're not doing anything. So, and the offensive line is I've got what 11th and I'm sorry, they're 36th in line yards right now, but they're 11th in stuff rate. So at least they're controlling the line of scrimmage when they need it on 3rd and 2 and 4th and 1. Ty Simpson has been on point, and I know the defense that you're talking. I know what you're saying about who they've gone up against, but the numbers are insane about the clean windows that he's throwing into. He is best in the nation on target rate. That is hitting your target in stride without them moving, changing directions, reaching behind them over their heads. When you go past that, he hasn't recorded a turnover-worthy play, and they've only had 4 contested catches the entire season. Like he is just immaculate with his accuracy right now. Alabama ranks as the 2nd highest passing offense nationally in contested catches. 4 drops.
He's been super productive with play action. Like I think he's completing like 90% of his passes with play action. But that's the key to me because Georgia's going to be able to bring different pressures and blitzes if they don't respect the run. So if Alabama can't run it here,
but maybe they can.
I don't know if they can. Is what I'm saying. Like that from what I've seen, and like I think Alabama will move the ball a bit, but I don't think that. I think that Georgia's going to get stops in the red zone where if they can't run the ball. Like that's what it all comes down to. And then if this game's going to go under, this isn't like your same vertical Alabama attack where they're like a lot of it is like in the intermediary where Bernard is working. Williams is like a lot of the after the catch. There's just so much speed on the back ends of both these defenses that I think there's going to be like these drives are going to take time. That's why I like the under.
I mean, Bernard is always orbiting, always in motion, and Williams has been playing a lot more slot this year than he did last year,
especially last week.
And so when you look at this, it's like I disagree with you about Georgia in the red zone. I mean, they're 92nd defensive finishing drives. They have not been able to defend the pass. They have no pass rush, which I know Kirby only sends 4, and he tries to get pressure out of that. But Georgia's coverage grade of 93rd, it goes beyond just playing Tennessee and getting zipped by Joey Aguilar. Marshall and Austin Peay combined to create 5 explosive plays, 5 explosive passes against the Dogs secondary. That's not good. The corner play is crucial here. Janelle Aguilera, Dalen Everett, Daniel Harris. They've allowed these are the corners that have been playing for Georgia for starting, gotten the most coverage snaps. They have allowed 21 of 31 targets to be caught for 248 yards. The corners have not played well for Georgia whatsoever. And now Ryan Williams and Jeremy Bernard, 3.3 and 2.9 yards per route run, respectively. I think Alabama's absolutely going to be able to move it. Maybe if Jam isn't even efficient, I still think Ty Simpson's going to be able to throw it. These corners have not played well at all. And 92nd defensive finishing drives, Alabama's going to score. Now you go to the other side of the ball, Georgia's 5.8 yards per play, 60% success rate against the Tennessee defense. I respect that. I respect what Gunnar Stockton did better than I thought, especially from his passing perspective. They converted half of their third downs. They had an average distance to go of 5.7 yards. That means Georgia is killing it in standard downs. And they are. Like Gunnar Stockton, they are moving the ball in first and second down. They are rarely in a passing down. There was plenty of pressure on him in that game. He's had 31 pressures and 106 dropbacks already this year, but he's performed well with that. Tim Keenan does return to defensive interior for Alabama. I think that's big for them from a side perspective, why I kind of lean Alabama. But both of these defenses have not been good in finishing drives at all. Bama has surrendered 4.4 points to every opponent that has crossed the 40-yard line. I project this number as 61. I think the defenses, the back ends are leaky. I don't think the corner play from Georgia has been great whatsoever. And I think Stockton can absolutely create his own points. So I like the over here. We'll go head to head on it. I lean Alabama, but it's either it's a pregame play or it's a no play because like I said, Alabama and DeBoer, they come out with great plans. And then by the second quarter, Kirby is the best in-game adjuster in the nation. So
yeah, like I'm probably going to bet if it gets to 2.5, I bet Georgia a lot pregame. I'm going to bet the total. I'll bet it's small. I'm going to see where this goes. But like I expect, if my anticipation is Alabama's going to score early and then Kirby adjusts, like I probably should wait. Like that's my expectation. I probably should wait to get
the biggest
55 plus on
the biggest keys are 55 and 59. So by your theory, that means perfect to wait if there's a score.
Yeah, 51 below that and 55. So, but all right, we're going head to head on the total. I'll throw out one other thing. Keep in mind which could swing this game. Georgia. Best special teams in the country. Keep that in mind. All right. You trust Simpson? I don't yet. I still got to see it.
Tennessee,
Do you think it's 2018, like it's Alabama and Clemson, or we've now crossed off Clemson? We might be soon crossing off Alabama off your list.
does Tennessee's kicker count as a special teams for Georgia? Is that what you're including in that number?
I mean, coming into the year, last year they were probably the top special teams too. Their special teams are elite.
Is the spread still 3 if Tennessee doesn't miss that field goal?
Yeah, I think so. I think if they dominated Tennessee and like really deserved to win, this would have been 3.5, 4. Like you're just going to get people like Kirby Smart at home, this Georgia and Bama. The only real data point we have is them getting blown out by Florida State. So like, I don't think you can have this at 2.5 flat, even if they lost that game.
So unprepared. They were so unprepared.
We'll see if they're prepared here. All right, those are the 3 best games of the day. But let's get to the rundown. We'll go through, I don't know, about 10 to 12 games here. Oh, by the way, quarterback injuries. Utah, West Virginia. West Virginia has a ton of injuries. That's a dead shot under to me. Like, I know West Virginia wants to go fast, but their offensive line banged up. Their quarterback, their running backs. Dan Pierce apparently dealing with an injury. They also can't throw the ball. West Virginia's defense has been pretty good under Allie. So, like, that screams under to me. I love the under there. Do you have any thoughts on Utah, West Virginia?
There's just, okay, so first off with Utah, I mean, there's just 0 EPA. There's no explosiveness, and Dan Pierce was hurt. The one thing I cannot believe is that Whittingham came out and said, they asked if Dan Pierce was hurt. He said, well, he's in a better space right now than he was a week ago on Monday, and that he really struggled in practice Tuesday and Wednesday. That is why Utah's coaches are so superior at keeping information from anybody. Because if anybody remembers, that market last week went from 3 to 3.5 against Texas Tech. I mean, that is how well Whittingham keeps injuries away from anyone.
Here we go again with Utah QB injuries.
So, yeah, I mean, look, this inside zone of Rich Rod, I don't know who's running the ball. They're 134th in creating quality drives. I think that supports the under. I think I might join in here with you, but they are next to dead last in creating a quality drive. Most teams right now, let me just put it this way. Most teams are in the 20s and 30s and getting a possession, an offensive possession past the opponent 40-yard line and getting a scoring position. West Virginia has 19 this year.
All their backs are hurt. Their quarterbacks are hurt. We saw how disastrous it was when they pulled Markiel against Pitt, and then their offensive line is injuries, and their defense is fairly healthy and has been pretty well schooled and schemed. And if you're Utah, you don't want Dan Pierce's best asset is his legs. If he's dealing with an injury, you don't want to run him to death here in this game.
They can't pass either.
Put the under on the board?
Yeah, put the under on the board.
All right. Other quarterback injuries, by the way, before we get to the rest of the rundown, Buffalo, their starter, Roberson is out. App State, Boise. I kind of like App State. I'm trying to get word on.
Great spot.
Yeah, great spot. Boise has Notre Dame on deck. Maddox Madsen a little banged up. Boise's defense is horrendous. App State's defense is bad too. Who's getting stops in there?
But App State's also 130th in penalties. Like it's a tough wager because of that. Yeah,
but App State coming off by we'll see if AJ Swan can go, their quarterback. Apparently he practiced after getting an MRI. So there's some quarterback uncertainty, but I'll probably have something small on App State, even with that line coming down. Once I get some more quarterback news, it is a good spot though. Syracuse, Steve Angeli out for the year. Duke has taken money as a result. Miami of Ohio, I mean, they're playing Lindenwood, but Daquan Finn obviously got banged up last week. Liberty, who's playing quarterback for Liberty this week? Has that been confirmed? Liberty, Vasquez made great progress in recovery and could play Saturday at ODU because their backup got medically. He was like forced to medically retire. Berger, speaking of App State, the App State transfer, because he went down with a shoulder and neck injury late in the first half against JMU and didn't return. And so like Michael Merdinger and Ethan Hawke got playing time in that game. It was bad. So that's something to keep in mind. Liberty is bad. So
is Caden Salter, by the way. Go ahead.
I'm on Colorado this week.
Oh boy. Well, apparently we'll get there. Dion had some interesting comments.
I want Colorado. Salter looked great last week. Threw for 300, 3 touchdowns, 80 yards. I know they have a ton of injuries. Like they're going to need to find a corner. They're going to need one of their young kids to step up at corner. They're going to need one of their young kids to step at corner. They have 2 cornerback injuries. The 2 guys who are playing outside corner. Their defensive line has injuries. They have one of their defensive tackles is suspended for the first half for targeting. So they're in rougher shape. BYU's relatively healthy, and they're going to get Kirkland, I think, back, the Oklahoma State transfer, to bolster the defensive line. He's a good player, transferred in the offseason. But at 7, come on. BYU was just laying 7 at ECU. I made Colorado 4.5-point favorite over ECU on a neutral. And this is they went across country coming back to Boulder. They played in a high play game. I don't know. The defense is on the field for like 80 plays. This is still a young quarterback, Bachmeier, even though he fared well last week. I get the Colorado injuries. What?
His numbers aren't that great. He's like,
Yeah, and last week they stopped ECU twice in the red zone. They had a defensive touchdown. Whatever ECU was doing at the 1-yard line, 7's too many. Deion's been good as a dog, 9-4 against the spread.
So Deion came out and said, and I really appreciate betting Colorado when they played Ryan Staub, because that was atrocious. That was gross. I want my money back. I should get a refund. He says, Caden Salter now understands how we do things around here. So apparently that was more of a discipline reason why Caden Salter sat the entire game on the bench and Ryan Staub played. So Salter looked a lot better last week, but there's a disciplinarian problem going on with Caden Salter that we'll have to figure out. But the number is too high. I make it 4.5. I agree with you.
Yeah, you're going to give me the same price that ECU was getting. Come on. All right. LSU at Ole Miss. Oh, baby. This is a good one. The over is taking money. Maybe that's because Lane Kiffin was on social media all week telling people to bet the over.
Or is it because Whit Weeks is dating his daughter?
Whit Weeks dating his daughter. I'm assuming that he's maybe Landry Kiffin's a mole. Maybe Lane planted her.
Maybe he's going to get Whit Weeks to miss more tackles.
I'm sure he's planning. He spent his whole week planning on how to make Whit Weeks' head spin and in coverage every play. I don't have a daughter, but if I did, and my team was playing my daughter's boyfriend's team, you better believe I'm going to put in a little extra work on how to make him look stupid.
There's a conversation with the Ole Miss, whoever the guards and tackles are that are blocking at the second level on Whit Weeks. There's a conversation happening.
But maybe Landry's a mole. Lane has the playbook. Lane has what LSU's going to do, and that's why he's telling everyone to bet the over, because he knows. So, but my first thought was to look at the under here. The over is taking money recently. Got hit. It's at up to 56.5. Ole Miss a 1.5-point favorite. My thinking is, like, I trust the LSU defense. The offense still a work in progress. The Ole Miss offense has looked electric under Chambliss, but he hasn't really faced any real defense yet. So, like, and the other thing is, like, I don't trust the Ole Miss defense. I don't trust the Ole Miss offensive line. So there's a lot of things here. Now, I wanted to play LSU. My numbers say to play LSU, but this is a big but.
Yeah.
The Clemson keeps losing. Florida keeps losing, which makes the LSU resume look a lot shakier. So I can't get to the window. I need this as another data point for LSU. So I'm passing. I lean under. But now Lane's in my head. Like, if this is at 51 late, he's and like the game's out of reach, and he's like, oh shit, I told everyone I'd to bet the over. Like, he's going to try to score. Like, I'm probably staying away here. We'll be rooting for LSU. We'll look for something live. But the LSU resumes looked worse. Ole Miss, their offensive line looks bad. Their offense looked electric, but they played like nobody. Like, Arkansas's defense is so bad. So this is a big step up in class, but maybe LSU's defense just looked so good because look at Florida's offense, look at Clemson's offense. So I have more questions than answers. Nothing for me there. Anything for you?
Yeah, I had a game of the year on LSU money line in this game, and now I don't want to fall so far in love.
It's probably right around where this is.
Yeah, and that's where this is. I don't want to fall too far in love with Trinidad Chambliss, because I remember the play that I made was because of the scheduling spot with Ole Miss, also because I didn't like Austin Simmons. Well, he's not the quarterback anymore.
I like Chambliss more than Simmons, I'll tell you that.
Chambliss is amazing. I mean, the 2 explosive runs against Tulane, nearly 100 yards off design, gap blocking. When you look, I think you have to look at what LSU did against mobile quarterbacks, right? Lagway was a non-factor on the ground, and Klubnik had 8 carries for a yard. I know there's sack yardage in there, but Klubnik was just a non-factor either. Lane Kiffin's going to be orbiting around slot receivers, tight ends as blockers on a draw play. I think he's going to have Chambliss running on designed runs for the first half, and then when the second half comes around, it's going to be little dink and dunks to the tight ends over the middle. And I think that's going to be the primary way that Ole Miss scores in the red zone. So I would really look at Daquan Wright. I put that in the app today. A Daquan Wright anytime TD, I think, is going about plus 250. He's already got 2 TDs on the season. He is the primary red zone source because Chambliss is running all of these designed rushes with running backs and tight ends in motion that are blocking for him on left. They're going left, they're going right, they're going misdirection. It's really tough to defend. LSU right now is 97th in tackling. That makes me a little bit nervous for that preseason position that I have. Chambliss is playing clean ball, 0 turnover worthy plays and 62 passing attempts, no mistakes. LSU's got a real problem running the ball. I mean, they average the same amount per carry as Sela did at Southeast Louisiana. They're below.
If LSU can't run the ball this week, I'm off. I mean, I'm already in on them, but like then their ceiling won't get there because this Ole Miss defense is significantly worse than last year. Their defensive line, their offensive line is bad too. Like, and Baker's going to bring pressure, and Chambliss hasn't seen any pressure, so that's the other thing here. But lots of fun storylines. The game should be fun. We'll learn a lot more about both teams.
Yeah, I think the other thing is, can Nuss execute with no pass rush coming from Ole Miss? Because Ole Miss cannot produce a pass rush. They're one of the worst in the nation.
Yeah.
Ole Miss runs a lot of zone and quarters. They have a strong 57% success rate running that. They're 31st in coverage grading. So this is not an easy thing for Nuss, who's pretty average against quarters and cover 3. So I think Chambliss' legs is the difference. I think he's going to pop Daquan Wright in the second half for a touchdown. I'm going to try to buy out LSU Game of the Year live. I'll try to get Ole Miss at a plus number, but I'm not. I mean, if you see that play in the app for me, that is not a comfortable position I have on LSU.
I lean LSU, but I have some questions about the resume, and still but I don't love this Ole Miss team, and I would lean under, but who wants to bet a lane under after he's telling everyone all week to bet the over? I have better things to do with my money. Auburn at Texas A&M. This is a tough spot for Auburn. A&M off of a bye. Auburn, who's already played at Baylor. Who made this Auburn schedule? At Baylor, at Oklahoma last week in a game they got robbed.
More importantly, why did Auburn decide to save all of their NIL money for this year when they saw this schedule? I don't know.
Brutal. Now they go down to one of the toughest places to play in college football. I was impressed with Auburn last week. Their future pro center is questionable. I think Connor Lew, I think he'll be good to go. But that's certainly worth noting. Mm-hmm. The Texas A&M defense still has question marks. The offense looks electric. But I was impressed with Auburn last week. I'll give you my most boring take. This line is Texas A&M minus 6.5, total 52.5. I make this Texas A&M minus 6.9. Nice. Total 52.5. Absolutely nothing here for me. Have Texas A&M futures, college football playoff futures. Got to get this game. We'll be rooting for them. Might have something live. I got nothing here.
Yeah, I took Auburn on open at 7.5. I'd still take them again at 6.5. I make the game 3.
Wow.
I think Auburn's going to show up here. I don't think they can win the game, but I think they're going to show up.
It's a tough spot, though. A&M off a bye. Them off that physical game, like heart deflating loss. Like
this Texas A&M defense is not that good.
I'm curious to see what Elko does with the bye. Like if he fixed some of that's certainly something to watch. But the Auburn offense should, regardless, will look more functional because the Oklahoma defense and their defensive front is on a different level compared to Texas A&M.
Well, Auburn's been running 62% of the time with Jeremiah Cobb and Jackson Arnold, and they're using inside zone as the primary concept. And Texas A&M, they're a top 25 team in defensive rushing success rate, and they're about 58% against in success rate against inside zone. So it's going to have to come off Jackson Arnold's arm.
And Auburn's run D has looked good, but I still have questions there because if you think about it, like even if you adjust, like they've played Baylor who can't run it, and they played Oklahoma who cannot run the ball, right? So like, and Texas A&M can. Texas A&M is one of the best offensive lines, one of the best backfields, a mobile quarterback. So I don't know. I mean, I could see a case for the over because like this is going to be a lot smoother for Auburn's offense after last week. Like it's going to feel like a sigh of relief. And last week, you have to remember that they were going up against a coach who knew Jackson Arnold like the back of his hand and like just knew everything. So things should be more open. And this A&M offense looks explosive. I make it right on, but I could see the case for the over.
Well, Texas A&M secondary is not stopping Eric Singleton and Cam Coleman at all.
Yeah.
So they have as many advantages as Texas A&M has with Casey Concepcion and Craver.
It should be a fun game back and forth in that one. All right. USC at Illinois. Illinois is bad, but this is a great spot for them.
Yeah, but USC got smacked every time they went East in Big Ten play last year.
Yeah, this is a great spot for Illinois. USC is not travel well. It's also a noon start. Illinois, you're going to get their best effort. They were embarrassed last week. They're at home. It's a 9 a.m. body clock start for USC. I don't know if Lane is going to play. Jacoby Lane, the star receiver for USC. I think that matters. So we'll see him and Lemon. The thing is, this USC offense is unstoppable. I think they might be the best offense in the country. They upgrade. Their tackles look great. The run game looks amazing. It's like old Lincoln Riley run game. And people forget that's where it all starts with Lincoln Riley. It's the run game. And the run game looks electric. It looks like old school Lincoln Riley. And then guess what? You get the run game going. And how are you the tight ends are also playing really well. But how are you stopping? And if you haven't seen Waymon Jordan play, and Eli Sanders is back up, but Waymon Jordan's averaging 8 yards a carry. He's electric. But the run game gets going. And then you have a top 3 wide receiver duo in Lane and Lemon. Like this offense, and Maeva is playing really well. This offense is electric. And Illinois, their defense, their secondary is not fully healthy. It looks like they're going to get a couple guys back, but they are still going to be short-handed. Last week they were at one point like down their top 5.
I'm not even sure they're going to get guys back. I mean, they're trending like Xavier Scott's out. They're star corner nickel all Big Ten.
Yeah, Scott is out. There's a couple other guys that are out, but I think like Patterson's going to play. There's another guy in concussion protocol. But there's a couple guys trending. Like I don't think they're going to be down like the top 4 or 5. It screams Illinois spot at 7 or more. I'm mad I didn't grab Illinois just on the spot, and like USC probably comes out a little flat, slow start with this time and travel. But the USC defense isn't elite, so Illinois' offense should score enough here. But I don't know how Illinois is getting stops once USC gets going. So spot screams Illinois. Matchups, injuries, is assuming Lane plays. Like that's what I'm waiting for. That screams advantage USC. Put it all together. It's a pass for me. I actually might lean under. Like the problem is like the Illinois defensive injuries, but I assume Bielema wants to run the ball more here, kind of control the clock, keep that USC offense on the sideline. USC might have a slow start here, given the time. So I don't know. There's a lot of moving pieces. Not a game I'm in love with either way. Will be a big USC fan for my USC futures, but I got to get more clarity on the injury situation. Do you have anything here, USC at Illinois?
Yeah. USC is definitely a parlay piece. I think you can moneyline par them with another team that's maybe 5 to 7 point favorites, Indiana. So, it's funny because Mendoza went straight at Xavier Scott's replacement last week, Tanner Heckel. Signetti targeted him 5 times, 4 balls got caught for 64 yards. And Altmaier had 15 pressures against Duke. And then we said this last week on the podcast is having 15 pressures against Altmaier. Is that going to be a problem against Signetti's defense? And then they produced 16 pressures. And I think USC is going to be able to get a little pressure here on Luke Altmaier. And I just don't know if he's going to be able to keep up this streak where, he had 2 turnover-worthy plays, but he has yet to throw an INT this season. So when does he make his first really big mistake? I don't know. And the injury list is huge. Like corner Caleb Patterson was on crutches last week. Corner Torrey Cox was supposed to practice yesterday. Wide receiver Justin Bowick was cleared for Indiana, but he didn't play. Running back Aiden Lowry cleared for Indiana, was in the warmups, didn't play. Like even the wide receiver Beatty left the game after the first offensive possession. I don't see how anybody could. That's why you've seen this number like fly all the way up to 7. I think it's a parlay piece all the way.
Speaking of Indiana, they're at Iowa. Ferentz has been good historically as a 7+ point dog. Indiana is a 7.5 point favorite. Total 48.5. Spot screams Iowa. Like this look ahead was like 2.5. Now you're at 7.5. Indiana obviously gets upgraded after what they did. But how's Iowa keeping up? Like that's my fear. I don't know how they keep up. The formula's there. Like you got to be a typical Iowa game. Dominate special teams. They, by my numbers so far this year, they have the number 1 special team. Shocker. Yeah. And then don't break. Like it's got to be like the Kennesaw game, or not the Old Dominion game against Indiana. You just get stops in the red zone, and that's kind of like what the Iowa defensive structure is with their 4-2-5 under Phil Parker. It's a lot of like, we're not going to give up any explosive plays, shorten the game, run the ball, dominate special teams. That's the formula. But I was talking to one of the biggest bettors in the country, one of my good friends, who brought up an interesting point. He said, why don't it might be prudent to have two sets of power ratings for Indiana. One where they're basically like a top 5 to 6 team for their games against normal opponents. Because over the past year and a half, that's how they've played. Like they blow out teams like they're a top 5 team. They blow out they put up 60, 50. But then like you have to downgrade them when they play teams that are loaded with 5 stars. You know, your other top 4 to 5, your real top 5 teams, because like their execution is so good, Cignetti is so good, and this team is really good. But from a pure like talent, blue chip, 5-star, 4-star, they're not at that same level. So that execution doesn't get them the same results. So maybe it's like, you know, a field goal difference in their rating. I don't know. Something, it was just a thought experiment. Was interesting because that's how Indiana's played. Like, think about all their results, and then they step up in class and it doesn't look the same. But their results are like they're basically like a top 5 team every week when they play all these normal teams, how they blow everyone out. So spot screams Iowa at over 7. Do you got anything there?
Well, Indiana plays Oregon on October 11th, so I guess we'll find out that theory of 2 power rating systems. Yeah, I love Indiana in this game, and I think it could get a little out of control again. Let me talk about the Iowa offense. 0 methodicals against Rutgers in 10 possessions. That means they did not create a 10-play drive. You're going to have that because you're not getting explosives against Indiana. Iowa's not explosives forever. 2 methodical drives and 10 possessions against Iowa State. I just don't see it happening against this Indiana defense. When you go to the other side of the ball, what does Indiana run on the ground all the time with Roman Hemby and Kalen Black? They run inside zone. If you look at Iowa's defense right now and the schedule they've played, they're 39% success rate against inside zone. They cannot defend it, and that's what Indiana runs. The advantages they had over Illinois, they got the advantages here over Iowa. I mean, there's a reason this number, I think, is ticked up to 8, 8.5. There's a chance it get ugly. I threw Indiana in a moneyline parlay with another favorite, but this could be gross.
I can't get to this number unless I like really adjust Indiana and say like it's different, like I was just talking about. I don't know if Iowa can keep up though. But like this, is this a classic Iowa game? That's basically what this comes down to. Like, are they just forcing field goals and then like scoring on special teams, pinning Indiana at the 1 like 5 times, getting muff punts, making all their field goals? Indiana's missing field goals. Like, is this an Iowa voodoo game? That's basically what this comes down to, because they can't keep up in a normal setting with their offense.
By the way, something's going on with Cignetti and Burt, like big time. Like he was so complimentary of Ferentz and Iowa this week, like over complimentary. And that's after he's like held himself back twice. And plus there's another reporter out there that I text with, and he's like, Cignetti had things to say off the record and was still trying to hold himself back about Bielema. So circle it for next year, because there's something going on.
Tennessee at Miss State. Tennessee 7.5 point favorite. 8 at some spots. Total 62.5. You want to talk about fast and play number of plays? You want to watch this game? 4:15 Eastern, SEC Network. My numbers. What do I make this? This is a really good under the radar game that won't get enough attention since it's at 4 o'clock on SEC Network. I make it 7. So I don't know. Over a touchdown, it's Miss State or nothing. You got anything here?
Yeah, I think both these teams are going to have a day. I mean, Mississippi State's defense, their pass rush is outside the top 100, so Joey Aguilar should absolutely have no problems. I mean, the biggest advantage for them is actually on the ground. I mean, Mississippi State's secondary is better than what their run defense is. So I think Star Thomas and Deshaun Bishop, both averaging 3.9 and 4.8 yards after first contact, is what's going to do the damage here. That's what they did against Georgia. I mean, remember, Tennessee's already played Georgia, and that's what those running backs are averaging. The question is, can Blake Shapen keep up with the Tennessee attack? I mean, Tennessee's coverage unit is ranked 60th. Tennessee runs primarily cover 3 with Tim Banks. So you look at Blake Shapen in his career, what has he done against cover 3? 73% success rate and an explosive play 28% of the time. Tennessee plays cover 3. They allow an explosive 1 of every 5 attempts. Listen, Brennan Thompson and Anthony Evans are the third. They're both averaging 2.7 yards per route run. Like, I make this game 10, but I'm not betting Tennessee. Blake Shapen loves cover 3. I think they're going to keep up with them. I'm not saying they're going to upset them, but I think Mississippi State's going to be able to keep up.
Cowbells. All right. I saw a bet coming to Missouri. UMass. That line is taken off. I mean, UMass. They might be out their entire secondary. Their injuries are insane.
Well, they're starting a redshirt freshman quarterback.
Yeah, it's bad. They've had to move quarterbacks to the secondary. It's a disaster. What did you play there? You played first half?
Yeah, I played first half. So Missouri's, they got their SEC win. They're about to go into a bye. This kind of fell into our look ahead, look away segment. Like, does Missouri really want to be here? Then I go into, I go into Drink's old spiel earlier this week, and he's calling it homecoming, 114th call of the columns. This is a very, very serious week on the campus. More people. And then he starts talking about the kids need to park in the right places, go to class, do the right things, get enough sleep, show up on time this week. And then he says, because more people die on the descent of Mount Everest than the actual ascent because of the lack of focus and concentration once they reach the summit. Drink is possessed by this idea that he does not want his team to have a hangover. He mentioned the loss of Sean Clark. He talked about this at length in the press conference. Remember, Drink is an App State guy, and Sean Clark bridged the gap when he came in as head coach from NC State. They were both at App State. They both had dinner every Wednesday night at Wendy's. Like, I read all about this, about how emotional it is that Sean Clark passed away. So between homecoming, the 114th call of the columns, the fact that he's mentioning people die on the descent of Everest after reaching the summit, because he's talking about winning an SEC game and then playing UMass. And he's also talking out loud about watching tape on freshman AJ Harrison to get the start for UMass. Look at what UMass has had in the first half so far. Iowa is beating them 30-7. Temple's beating them 28-10. I think Missouri's just. I think Missouri's going to come out hair on fire.
Yeah, I can't back UMass. I'll tell you that. By the way, the Action Network app, it's free. If you're new here, you do not have it, you're missing out on the full BBOC betting experience. Use code BBOC20 to get $20 off a year of Action Pro access and never miss a bet from me, Colin, Duck, the whole squad. By the way, make sure you check out the group of 5 guys with their preview. I know that Duck was selling Toledo, which I don't hate in this spot. All right, it's time for some trash. All right, trash, updated record, 29-19, 16.4%. Agree, by the way, updated is 42-30-1, 58.3%. Trash has been about 500 this year, but some really bad breaks. Although we did get Temple, which was nice. All right, let's go through them. You tell me if you agree or not. ULL money line. I mean, it's even money. Marshall's road chalk. I mean, Marshall should be a dog here. I make it 3. I know ULL can't complete a forward pass, but it actually looked better last week. They have the better backfield. They have the better defense. This Marshall team is terrible. ULL will have this circled. They got embarrassed by Marshall last year in the conference title. Give me the Raging Cajuns in their home opener to regroup here.
Absolutely not. You are crazy. ULL is absolutely atrocious.
So is Marshall.
Not at a quarterback position like this.
Del Rio. You scared of Del Rio Wilson. All right. That's why you like Marshall.
That's right.
It's your namesake. Their quarterback is Del Rio Wilson. ULL wins that game, but it's going to be.
Well, we like their head coach too. He just,
NIU, I'm fading your Aztecs off a huge win against Cal. I mean, it was pretty fluky that game. Cal kept turning it over, missing field goals or pick sixes, fumble returns for touchdowns. Now you're going to DeKalb across the country before conference play. Sleepy spot. Hammock as a dog is absolutely amazing. I think he's 21-6 against the spread. He's 5-21 as a favorite. NIU is their strength of schedule disparity is huge here. NIU has 2 losses against Maryland and Mississippi State, and they hung in both games until the end where they kind of wore down. NIU, I trust their defense more here. Yeah, they'll run the ball, grind this down. I don't trust San Diego State's quarterback, regardless what happened last week. Give me NIU as a home dog.
I'll pass. I'll wait for Nowhere Fast to talk about the total.
UCLA. I took the 7.
This isn't even trash. This is like toxic Avenger.
I don't like Northwestern, by the way, is like 30, I think over the last 25 years, 34% as a favorite of 7 or more. Again, we have a team that's not built to cover as a big, like this Northwestern team is terrible. I've downgraded UCLA so much. I have these teams dead even. Like, where do you have these teams power rated? I have these teams dead even.
I have Northwestern by 6.5.
On a neutral?
No.
Yeah, that's so you have them. I don't know, 4. I make this spread like around a field goal, 3.5. I think. I don't have them dead even. I have Northwestern. Let me see. I'll tell you exactly.
While you're looking it up, I can count more categories. UCLA is not dead last. Dead last, quality drives, havoc.
Yeah, I get it. They've been bad. I make it 4. So, and that's aggressively downgrading UCLA. Tim Skipper's come in. All the reports I've read, everyone is playing, and they'll get one of the receivers back, making his debut, Flores, this week. Everyone's playing. The practices have actually been functional. Like, they were dysfunctional under Deshaun Foster. Everyone's playing. No one's opting out. The practice of all the reports I've read, the people that I know close to the program said they still care. After getting embarrassed at Northwestern, it's not much of a home field here. They've had a bye. The travel isn't as bad. You need Northwestern to win by more than a touchdown? They got one receiver. Stone has been terrible. What's he have, like 10 or 12 turnover-worthy plays? They lost their leading rusher for the season. The defense wants to take away the explosive at all costs, but this UCLA offense isn't explosive. Like, they can move the ball enough here. They can run it. This is too many points. Overreaction because no one wants to bet UCLA. Give me the Bruins.
Yeah, you go ahead. I'm not trying to back Northwestern, but this is gross.
FAU at Memphis, too good of a spot. I mean, FAU, they've been snake bit with turnovers. I think they're -8, 9. They have 9 interceptions on the year. Memphis off that win over Arkansas. You got to remember that was a dream spot for Memphis, and they were still down 28 to 10. They still needed a fumble late to win. FAU off of a bye. I think, and I think that bye is important because they had a brand new offense, a brand new staff. They needed to get the timing down with their quarterback and receivers. I think they can score enough here. 2 touchdowns, too many. Give me the Owls. Al Giff.
No.
Okay. BG. This is my favorite one. This has come way down. Someone hit this early in the week from 9.5 to 10.5, and I said, okay, I don't know why that's happening. No, now I can't figure out Ohio. So that means they're going to win by 30. But now this has come back down. I still would bet it at 8.5. The more I've looked into it. Like this, first of all, this game's just going to be 2 run-heavy teams. Like, the clock is going to, there's going to be, this is like, will look kind of like a service academy game. But Bowling Green should be able to run all day on Ohio. Ohio's defense is bad. They also lost a linebacker to an injury. They lost one of their best run-stopping defensive tackles to an injury. He's on crutches last week. The Ohio defense is terrible. Drew Pine, all he does is just little dink and dunks, and they're going to run it. And that's what you can do against this Ohio defense. The Bowling Green offensive line will dominate this matchup. They have like 8,000 career FBS snaps. They're going up against a really undersized Ohio front, and BG's going to go heavy, 2-3 tight ends. They'll be able to move the ball, keep the clock moving. I get that Parker Navarro is really good. That's probably the difference in this game, and Chase Hendricks in the slot. But I like Bowling Green's slot corner. I don't like their outside corners, but Ohio doesn't have any outside receivers, and they lost one of their starters last week to a season-ending injury. This game will be close. Give me BG.
Yeah, I'll pass. I don't like Dorian Pringle being hurt. That was
he is hurt. He was one of the better players, but their freshman transfer from Tennessee State, who knows the defense, looked amazing. I went back and watched to make sure. He looked amazing at Louisville. He had a really good game. So that's something to keep in mind. Jefferson, I think his name is.
Yeah.
Or maybe not. Say it. Whoop.
There's a freshman, Caden Marshall, Andrew Hines.
Caden Marshall. He had a really good game against Louisville, which was really promising because and the Ohio offensive line is trash. Like Bowling Green can win this in the trenches. But that's definitely worth noting. Thanks for bringing that up with Pringle. All right, and last one, Minor Nation. First mention of Minor Nation this year. Anything over a field goal is fine.
Are we really fading Louisiana Tech?
Yeah, they've been fraudulent. I'm telling you, and I bet them a bunch. They've been fraudulent. UTEP bounces back.
Okay.
Agree or not?
I'll make it 4. We'll go. Yeah. They're 15th in tackling. I'll take it.
All right. That'll do it for trash. We got NIU, ULL, UCLA, FAU, BG, and UTEP. They ain't pretty, folks, but they never are. That's why we call it trash. All right. Let's go nowhere fast. San Diego State at NIU. Total is low. Like NIU, they just want to bleed clock and run the ball. They're one of the most run heavy teams in the country. You got anything there?
Yeah, I mean, we're 2-1 and nowhere fast. Stony Brook couldn't help us get to the over. So, besides that, we've been doing pretty well here. Project this game at 40 on the dot. Both teams 28.3 and 29 seconds per play. And San Diego State with this Denigal kid, it's all about pass EPA. There's just no success rate in these games whatsoever. Both of them extremely slow. No EPA coming off of the side of NIU. So under here. This is too slow. It should be 40, not as high.
Yeah, this isn't a flash fast.
No.
Kent State offense.
No.
By the way, the other trash I mentioned, Utah State. Vandy has Bama next week, then LSU, then Auburn, it's insane. Missouri. They've been bludgeoning teams early, and they have an advantage. But I would imagine, so I don't know if I'll bet Utah State pregame. Utah State live at some point or second half. You can't run Pavia here. You got to get your starters out. They got like 5 or 6 SEC ranked teams coming up. Utah State's much more competent than Georgia State. So I might look Utah State live or second half. All right, it's Collin talking Arkansas. Notre Dame at Arkansas. Arkansas continues to take money. The over is taking money. It's actually starting to come back down. That's because it looks like Devontae Smith is probable. Notre Dame's defense has been really bad, but they've had injuries in the secondary. I think Leonard Moore's probably still going to be out, but that's huge. That's something to watch.
If you can't defend Omega Blake, if Leonard Moore's not there, it's a problem.
See, my first thought here is this total. I think this total's too high. Like all these teams have been over machines, but there's not going to be crazy pace in this game,
right?
And like the Notre Dame defense has to regress some, and maybe they get. I think they're going to get Smith back, maybe more. Like so, it should be better. It's hard to see the Arkansas defense getting many stops, but like this is getting high at 64. At 65, I'm definitely in on the under. I know it's scary, but what are you seeing here with Arkansas? Notre Dame, Arkansas, 4.5.
I made it 63.5, and the reason I'm not playing the over is because of the method of attack by both teams is going to be on the ground. And so when you have that, that's tick-tock. So I'm not going to get involved with the total.
It's 65. You need everything to go right. You can't have like any red zone turnovers. You can't settle for field goals.
We've had fun betting these Notre Dame, Arkansas overs, but these numbers were like 56, 58. Then we got to 61, and I was like, okay, we're finally getting close to where it should be. So let's talk about how problematic these defenses have been. Arkansas is 122nd defensive rushing success rate. They were lazy. They had no effort. There was no motivation. And Memphis just sliced through that defensive line, which is horrible. Arkansas cannot defend inside zone read, 40% success rate. And that's all Notre Dame runs with Jadarian Price and Jeremiah Love. 231 yards against Purdue last week, 5 TDs. I think Notre Dame's kind of returned to what they are on the ground. Price also had a 100-yard kickoff return TD. Watch out for Jadarian Price. I did bet him anytime TD because of his special teams, because he's like way better in the numbers than Jeremiah Love right now. I think Jadarian Price is going to have a big day. On the other side, Notre Dame cannot defend man blocking run concepts at all. Like it is atrocious. Sub 40% success rate against man blocking. That is all Petrino runs with Mike Washington and Taylon Green. They just line up and do man blocking. I think Mike Washington's going to have a huge day. Taylon Green is the leading rusher on the team. He has 234 yards on designed runs, not even scrambles. He's got another 145 scrambles. 234 yards on design runs. Here's the bets I made. I've never made this many prop bets in my life. Taylon Green over 51 rushing yards. That's a joke. Mike Washington over 60 rushing yards. Jadarian Price over 70 rushing yards. Jadarian Price anytime TD. I like Arkansas pregame. I think it's a live Notre Dame hedge. I think it's back and forth. But these defensive lines, from a run concept perspective, are not ready for what they're about to see. Both of them are going to have huge success. I'd like 5-6 yards average per rush. I wouldn't touch a total, everybody, because it's all run. The game should be all run.
I like the under. If it's 60, especially if we get to 65, and it looks like Smith's going to play, especially if Moore plays.
But if Moore plays and can limit Omega Blake, who's like 2.5 yards per route run, like Omega Blake is insanely good, and Taylon Green looks for him every single passing attempt. If Moore plays, it's a different story.
All right, before we get out of here, let's go 3 and out. All right, start first down Friday Night Lights. We got Florida State at Virginia. Should be a fun one. Probably lots of points. I don't know if Virginia gets stops. Virginia hasn't played anyone. We have seen Florida State dominate Alabama. I get the spot for Virginia, but I can't back the Hoos here, especially at under 7. I get people buying, above 7, but
Right.
I can't get there. Houston at Oregon State. I mean, big strength of schedule disparity. Oregon State's played a really tough schedule, but they're really bad.
Houston's off a bye, a bad spot for Oregon
Yeah,
State.
but I can't get anything there. My favorite is TCU at Arizona State. I need 3 or better. The only thing I'm waiting, I just got to make sure Hoover's okay. He got like banged up at the end of the game because they had him in. I don't know what they were doing, and he walked off. Here's my statement of the podcast: Josh Hoover, QB1, best quarterback in the country. So I like TCU. The key also, Arizona State is a safety out. TCU's run defense is improved. Jalen Moss won't play for Arizona State. That's huge. Arizona State is so much easier to game plan against, and their pass offense is so much less efficient because almost half the targets go to Jordan Tyson. I get he's great, but there's no one else. And there's no Scadaboo, who was so great on the third downs. That's why their third down offense isn't as good. He was like he was amazing out of the backfield. He's doing it now in the NFL. But Jalen Moss is supposed to be that other guy. They don't have anybody else. I don't even know what Tyson's target share is off the top of my head, but it's like 45, 50%. It's insane. That's so much easier to game plan for. So, yeah, TCU. Josh Hoover. I don't know why more people don't talk about him. I think he's the best quarterback in the country.
Well, let me do the other 2 games real quick. So I did bet Virginia. I liked it above 7. Not sure if I can go any farther down, but Virginia is currently top 5 in third down defense. Chandler Morris hasn't been so bad, but FSU is not creating a pass rush, and they're not defending the pass very well. So I think there's an avenue for Virginia to keep up here and cover. As far as Houston goes, Houston's D is the best in the nation, limiting explosives. They're top 10 in coverage and quality drives. That's bad for Oregon State. Now, I want Arizona State. I mean,
head to head.
Because let me say this. I said this last week.
We just bet. We have on the board. Agree pending TCU to win the Big 12. Now you're off.
No, I said cover. I didn't say Arizona State's going to win. I know it's 3. You're going to give me 3. But listen,
Arizona State is favored by 3.
Yeah. Okay. So the reason.
So how is TCU going to win and Arizona State cover?
I wanted Arizona State in this game. I'm just saying. I project the number TCU -1.
So you're going to play Arizona State -3?
No. Listen, I said this last year, and I'll say it again. Josh Hoover has extreme splits against different coverages. This was a problem last year, and it was handicapped last year. Right now, he has a 38% success rate against cover 1 and 65% success rate against cover 3. Those line up with what he had last year. Arizona State runs mostly quarters, cover 4, and a split between cover 1 and cover 3. So my question is does Kenny D kind of sniff out what Hoover's tendencies are and throw a whole bunch more cover 1? Because Hoover's terrible against one single high safety. And
Arizona State is missing one of their better safeties, though. All right, we're going head to head.
Yeah, let's do it.
Hoover, I trust. All right, second down, favorite overdog. That's our favorite. I'll start things off. Let's throw out Minnesota here. This is a good spot for Minnesota. I hate really laying points with them, but they're a snail, and PJ will have like a 10-minute drive at the end up 3 or something. But Rutgers' defense is terrible. They have more injuries. They can't stop anybody. Also, this bye week for a true freshman in a complex offense, and I like what I've seen from Lindsey, is invaluable. They also should be healthier in the backfield and across the board. And Rutgers has more injuries. They can't get stops. Major revenge here. There's bad blood between these teams from last year against the old coordinator, the old quarterback. I get the Rutgers offense is good, but the Minnesota defense is feisty. They'll get stops. Rutgers can't stop anybody. They're letting Iowa offense put up near 40. Give me Minnesota at home off the bye.
I'm going to go with Air Force. This is Hawaii's 6th game. They played in week 0. Timmy came into the season, 2-15, playing off the island. Now 2-16 after getting whipped by Arizona 40-6. Air Force is coming in with power, outside zone, fullback dive. Hawaii hasn't seen any of that. I mean, they haven't seen any of that. Air Force's stuff rate is top 10 right now. Hawaii's defensive stuff rate is 72nd. Like, Air Force should absolutely dominate the trench. I think this Warriors team is going to be exhausted in their 6 games.
And the altitude.
And the altitude is this is bad. Air Force is 2nd right now in offensive finishing drives. So I think there's a reason this number is steamed. And if you don't like Air Force in the number, put in a parlay. But I think this is a great overdog.
All right. And finally, our underdog moneyline parlay. These underdog moneyline parlays, they have gone. We are up. This year we're 4-4 plus 1.8 units. from 2018 to 2024, we were 85, 127 plus 17.9 units. So sitting around close to plus 20 units now over 8 years. I'm going to go with Arizona against Iowa State. Campbell's Law. Every Iowa State win ages worse with each passing day. They barely beat Arkansas State, who then gets destroyed by Kennesaw State. We've seen Kansas State, how bad they've looked. It's insane. South Dakota is horrendous in FCS. I get that the bye week came in a good time for them, but Arizona also have a bye. Fafita's playing really well. A key here, Fafita holds the ball a ton. Iowa State gets no pressure. Another thing that adds some variance to this game is Iowa State doesn't have a kicker. Their kicker's hurt. Their kickoff specialist is hurt. True freshman going to be handling those duties. Could lead to better field position for Arizona and could lead to some missed kicks for Iowa State. Give me the Wildcats.
I'm going to stick with the theme of Jed Fish here. We're going to go up and take Washington against Ohio State. By the way, 959.
The Jed Fish moneyline parlay. I love it.
Yeah, I know that I'm going to hear from everybody if this doesn't pay off, but I'm taking Washington on the money line. Couple of reasons here. Jonah Coleman, Demon Williams, they're absolutely not going to be stopped in what their zone concept reads are against Ohio State. They are 73% success rate. Ohio State's defensive line is going to have struggles with that because they struggled with Texas on the ground completely. And I said it earlier in the podcast, and I'll say it now. Fundamentals are a huge part of this Ohio State defense. And I know Matt Patricia showed up for Texas and they got the win, but Caleb Downs' missed tackle rate was 10% last year. It's 21% right now. Fundamentals mean everything, especially when people like Williams and Jonah Coleman are getting to the second level and you're not tackling. I will take Washington on the money line.
Matt Patricia is a fish. Give me Jed Fish. 959 bad beat. I'm blaming Collin. It doesn't hit. But I like Washington as well. That'll do it for us. Thanks to Collin for joining me. Thanks to our producer, David, on the back end. Most importantly, thanks to all of you for tuning in. Make sure you subscribe, unsubscribe, tell a friend, tell an enemy. Recap show Sunday with the voicemails, 959 bad beat. Live show, 10:30 a.m. Eastern, Saturday. Group of 5 guys, make sure you check out their episode. Action Network podcast from me and Chris Raybon for the NFL. The Favorites podcast, make sure you check that out as well. And once again, if you want to detail some of the bets we discussed today, look for the quick slip link in the video and podcast description or visit actionnetwork.com/bet now. What a day. What a weekend. By the way, a recap quick. Well, I agree. Washington, Penn State, West Virginia under, UTEP. Head-to-head. I got Georgia, Bama under. You have the over. I have TCU. You have Arizona State. I can't wait for this slate. Hope you guys cash some winners with us. Thanks as always for tuning in. You guys are the best. Thanks again to Collin. Catch y'all later. Cheers.
Peace out.